from FanDuel. If you're looking to get tickets to your next event or looking to bet on any action, whether it's the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, hockey, you name it, FanDuel is the best place to do it because it is America's undisputed #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to place a bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action, and if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets if their first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to join today. That is FanDuel.com/UCSS for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Cavs Knicks tonight, guys, 7 o'clock on ESPN. They have 2 ESPN games this weekend. Dustin, is this a sort of measuring stick game
for the
Cavs, considering they've only played New York once this season? It's a battle of 2 of the 3 top teams in the Eastern Conference right now.
There's no question, and it's a team that we don't want to face in the playoffs if we don't have to. So it's a big game. It's another one you got to have at home. You got to continue to increase that lead, which is what? How many games? 5.5 games?
5.5.
On Boston right now. So big weekend for the Cavaliers coming back home right now. I do think last night they were thinking about this game tonight. I do. And the fact that those dudes had to play some extra minutes last night was a good thing, talking about the Knickerbockers. And now they got to come to Cleveland. I'm looking forward to watching this game tonight after my tennis match. Hopefully we get a couple of dubs tonight. Dubs on the court.
You got another match tonight?
I got a match in Westlake tonight.
Really? Mm-hmm. After your 3.5 hours on the court this morning?
Yeah, dude, I play 5 hours a day, man.
That's awesome.
So
anyway, I love that you want old school Knickerbockers too.
Yeah.
I like that. We don't use that enough.
Yeah.
No, we don't use it enough.
Dangerous word.
We don't use Cavaliers enough.
We use it just the right amount. It's a very dangerous
tonight. It is the
word
Cavaliers versus the Knickerbockers.
Yep.
You say that at your own peril. Bull, measuring stick game. You were the one that thought that was the appropriate terminology for this.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't want to overrate it because the Cavs could get smoked tonight and still beat the Knicks if they played them in the playoffs. And ultimately, it looks like the Cavs will probably not play the Knicks in the playoffs, I guess, because I'm assuming the Boston will beat the Knicks. Maybe that's unfair because the Knicks are playing really well, and they're probably – I thought it was interesting that, Mike, you put up the point spread before. I think it's 9. The Cavs are favored by 9.
8.5.
I mean, the Knicks are the 5th or 6th best team in the league, and they're an 8.5-point underdog. Yeah. That tells you what Vegas thinks right now about the Cavs.
I think part of that is playing 45 minutes, all your starters.
I hear you, Mike, but they're professional athletes, and they had a week off. I mean, let's not overrate that.
But what's that worth, Mike? 2 points, maybe?
Yeah, so if the spread was 6.
Maybe 3.
You'd be like, okay, that's. I mean, the Cavaliers when they were playing the Warriors in the postseason were like 8-point dogs on the road every time they played out in Golden State. So like when you play a good team on the road,
right? But that Warriors team was an all-time great team.
Okay, we're talking about the 3rd best team in the East, who's played really well against the Cavaliers.
No. I'm saying I'm surprised it's not a lower spread.
Well, yeah. Oh, you're surprised it's lower?
Yeah, he's surprised it's so big.
I'm surprised it's so big. I'm surprised.
And I kind of am too. I mean, I think last night did have a little something to do with it. What was the spread before last night? 6? 6.5?
It probably wasn't out.
I think
they hadn't played.
Well, Cavaliers, they're getting the love, and they are, but they covered the spread.
They do cover,
dude. So look, what are you gonna do? Make it 6 and give people money?
No, my only point was that it shows you how good people think the Cavaliers are right now.
So based on that, this is an interesting conversation. You taking the points or not? Would you bet the Cavs tonight?
I don't stay away.
That's a lot of points,
dude. This is not the year to be taking points against the Cavaliers. They just don't. I mean,
so you're taking.
I would definitely not bet the Knicks.
It's not. I wouldn't.
I'd probably stay away from this game.
I'd probably stay away from it.
I would stay away from it too if gun to head I had to make a pick. 8.5's a lot.
They just find ways to cover,
a lot, man.
cover
Give
the
me the
total
Knicks.
at the end of the day. They covered last night, and they were not covering the whole game.
The Nets
I feel like they're going to win between 6 and 10 points tonight.
I agree. So that's why it's 8.5's tricky.
Right.
It's like, do you want to get that extra foul?
But I'm excited to see this matchup because it's the one team in the East. I was about to say that we haven't seen them. They did play the Knicks once, but as Mike mentioned, that was like the second week of the season.
Yeah. Fourth game.
And the Knicks had a lot of new players.
We boat raced them, didn't we?
No, it came down Garland. It was the first Garland clutch game where he went crazy in the fourth quarter.
Oh, okay. That wasn't did we have a big lead on them early?
It ended up being I'll get the final score, but it was a pretty competitive game. But it was the first Darius Garland takeover.
Okay.
But the Knicks are a much better team now than they were in the beginning of the season.
I agree.
Because they had a lot of, the Cavs had the same team, new coach, but obviously the Knicks had a lot of new players,
Yeah.
and now they're healthy and playing really well. I think they've won 8 of their last 10, something like that.
Yeah,
so,
they're good.
I mean, the top 3 teams in the East are really good. They're a notch above everybody else.
Mike, give us your expertise. How do you break this one down?
Before we do that, the Cavs actually trailed that first matchup heading into the fourth quarter, won the fourth quarter by 10 points, and won 110 to 104. So it was closer, but that game was not the full Knicks squad, or it technically was, but Bridges
They weren't playing like they are now.
Different team now. I'm fascinated to see how Cleveland tries to defend the Brunson Karl-Anthony Towns pick and roll. And if you guys haven't watched how the Knicks operate offensively, Brunson is his usage rate is stupid high. They run everything through him, and they have shooters in the corners. And when Brunson has the ball, and you can see in the picture there, they run this high pick and roll with Towns. And Steve, go to Towns' stats. He's shooting through the damn roof this year.
I know
He's
he is.
43% from 3 on 9. It's enabled Cat. His nickname's Cat. It's up 1, Steve. Yeah. Karl-Anthony Towns is too long. But he's averaging 25, 13.5, and shooting 43% on almost 8.5 attempts from deep. The Cavs have the size, and Okoro's done a really good job in his career at guarding Brunson. I'm curious if he gets a little more run. He played last night for the first time in 2.5 weeks, so I expect him to actually get a good amount of burn tonight. How Cleveland tries to negate what New York wants to do with that high pick and roll between Brunson and Cat, I think it's going to be a good test case to see how they want to do it later in the season and potentially in a postseason series. Because Kenny's talked about, and Bull, I think you were on the show with me and Jason when we talked about this. Kenny's willing to try anything.
Yeah.
And he's talked about it openly. I want to get real-life experience with different coverages,
Which
with
I
different
love.
lineups. And I think we're going to see him try and counter that like 4 or 5 different ways tonight to start to build a repertoire in case this is a playoff matchup of what worked, what didn't, and what do I want to see more of in the 3rd and 4th matchups before the end of the season.
What do the Cavs do defensively in terms of Darius Garland? Like, what's the plan with him?
In this matchup,
Yeah.
I mean, right now they're switching a ton, so I think they'll kind of keep that. But I would expect Garland, when you look at who the Knicks usually start, he'll probably start on Josh Hart, considering he's their one non-real shooting threat.
Yeah.
They can set ball screens with Josh Hart, but if they do that, then he'll have to man up and guard Brunson one-on-one. But more importantly than how he does defensively, he's got to rebound and box out against Josh Hart if that is the matchup, because we know and we've seen in the past.
Josh Hart.
I know.
Josh
That
Hart
scares me.
will attack the glass with no regard for human life. And if you don't get a body on Josh Hart, you could look up at the end of the game and say, how does he have 16 rebounds and 8 on the offensive end? And when he does that, the Knicks are almost impossible to beat.
Extra possessions.
Yeah. More shots.
So should be a good one tonight.
Yeah.
I'll be there. Jason will be there.
You got to take a pick. Who you taking?
I'm not picking against Cleveland at home.
No.
I don't care who they're playing. If they're playing at the newly minted Rocket Arena, by the way, what do you think of them going
terrible.
back to Rocket Arena?
I don't get it. It's the 4th name in 30 years for this building.
I like the Q. That just was the easy.
I like the Q also.
Also, just keep calling it the Q. Nobody,
I
they're
still
not
call
paying
it-
us.
I still call
Hell,
it
a
the
lot of
Q,
people
my
call it
friends.
Jacobs Field.
The
Most-
Jake,
a
I
lot
still
of
call
people
it the
do.
Jake.
Yeah.
I got a T-shirt that says the Jake.
Yeah.
What about the Gund?
That's
No,
different.
that never
Did I
really.
ever catch on? I saw people
No,
on Twitter.
no.
I couldn't tell if that was a joke or if that was
No.
real.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean, it was
real.
Gund Arena for a while.
That's
I mean,
what they
we
called
called
it.
it that when it was that, but
Yeah.
then once it became Quicken Loans Arena, the Q was the best nickname ever.
Ever. But
Yeah.
the Rock is not, you don't like the Rock?
It's okay.
I don't know, man. Whatever.
So let's keep calling it the
As long as they win, I don't care what the hell they call the building.
Yeah, I don't
That's
either.
true.
All right, we got super chats here to wrap up the YouTube portion of our show.